Being a busy entrepreneur is overwhelming and isolating, but being a great mom and entrepreneur doesn't mean you shouldn't get serious support to grow an amazing business. Camilla-Jean Ringcob believes with marketing that works for your business and the support to finally execute on what matters, we can win at business and life. Camilla-Jean has been starting and growing successful businesses for over 30 years. She and I have been in business about the same amount of time. With a busy family of her own and as a StoryBrand Certified guide and an International Coaching Federation coach, she now helps mompreneurs focus on what moves the needle in growing their businesses. She uses simply designed programs and frameworks to implement marketing and execution techniques that are proven to stop overwhelm and grow your business. Welcome to the PR Maven Podcast, a podcast all about growing your network and building your brand through traditional and digital networking techniques. I'm Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I've been strengthening brands through PR for over 35 years, and now I'm celebrating the success of executives, influencers, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all around the world, all of whom have cultivated their brands and broadened their networks through traditional and digital networking methods. Each week, I interview one of these interesting and influential individuals and provide an opportunity for you, the PR Maven Nation, to gain insights from their strategies and stories. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and thanks for listening. So Camilla-Jean, what is the difference between a mompreneur and a regular entrepreneur?
Well, that's a great question. And I think for a lot of people, it's probably up for debate because it's not necessarily a term that's been around for a terribly long time or hasn't been used a lot until more recent years. So in my mind, when I picture a mompreneur, it is a woman who is educated, has probably had some very significant career or entrepreneurial experience before starting her family, which I think we're seeing more and more of where we didn't used to see that. So she's already had some great experience and maybe she's taken some time out or she's trying to figure out how to juggle her new role as a mom and, a professional or an entrepreneur. And she values both. So she thinks they're both critically important and she doesn't believe that she has to give up one to be the other. But it's difficult. It's a whole new set of challenges. It's very unique. But that's how I think of a mompreneur, somebody who is educated and definitely wants to pursue something, wants to give back and contribute, has skills that can make a big difference and an impact. And she's really wanting to do that, but also be present, be a great mom, and trying to sort through what does that look like for me? And how do I make that work in this very demanding world that we live in?
Yes, especially now that we're in the midst of COVID-19 and so many moms have children, school-age children who are home and they're trying to juggle. Sorry. I think that was a Freudian slip. They're trying to juggle both, helping their children to learn remotely as well as running a business. And it's not easy. I know I started my business around the time that I had my two sons who are now in their 20s. And it was never easy. But, it's really important to stay organized and to have good help and to delegate. I think for me, learning to delegate was really important.
I think you're right. And it's for some reason, delegation doesn't necessarily come natural to us as women. I think if you look at men are naturally better at that. It comes from maybe the culture, genetics. That's another whole nother thing. But if you look in the workforce, even successful women master that skill. But they may have to work a little bit harder or be a little bit more intentional. And I think it ties to that same trait that we also see in men and women, when we get an opportunity to step up to a leadership role, or we go and we're debating whether or not to start a business, we will have this whole conversation in our heads about, well, I'm not sure if I'm ready. And I think I maybe need to pick up this skill and that skill. And my 12 years of experience maybe isn't as good as that other person's 15 years of experience. Whereas a man will go, yeah, I can do that. I've never done it before. I can totally do that. No problem. So I think when you think about delegation, it's kind of that same mindset, is that we feel like we have to master our tasks as women. And so we tend to hold things very tightly. But you're right. Delegating both in our professional lives and at home is important. And bringing our families on board is the first vital place to start doing that. To share your dreams, to share why you're doing what you're doing, and get buy-in and support. This is a conversation that we have, and we're trying to openly talk with our kids about Dad's career and my career and why we're doing what we're doing. I actually am going to be in this next 6 months doing some stuff where my kids are actually going to have a share in the profits of my business, because I do include them in those conversations, and they make sacrifices as well so that I can do my business, but they also benefit from it. So trying to help them just understand that and giving them something a little bit more tangible, and then they will be receiving distributions from that. And then, talking to them about investing and stuff like that. So
I think that's a great opportunity for them to learn and for you to perhaps get some help. And, I think that you'll be modeling exactly what you're talking about, which actually leads me to the next question, which it seems as if you're targeting mompreneurs in your own business. Is that true?
It is. It is. So I kind of have two subsets because of my previous experience. I do have some construction companies and some agricultural companies that come to me for work. And a lot of those come to me through female contacts I have in those industries that we know each other intimately, but not necessarily. But I've been really passionate ever since I became a mom that this is a very hard thing to balance and to juggle and to get it all right. And there's a lot of pressures from society. So I built into my business a place and offerings for that specific group, because I felt like it was really, really important for them to have somebody that understood them, understood their specific challenges, and could talk to them on that level, but also talk to them about, pushing them harder, challenging them even more. So yeah, I tend to work with mom entrepreneurs who are in the early stages of their business. They're really trying to kind of figure out how to manage both sides of it. And then all the way up to really structuring their business and creating those first marketing elements and sales elements that are so super critical. If you look at the business hierarchy of needs, sales, if you don't have sales, that is the air you breathe. If you compare Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the business hierarchy of needs. So it's really, really important that we talk about and they get comfortable with, you got to start selling in your business. Don't get stuck and distracted by processes and order and making an impact. I think making an impact is great, but that stuff comes later. It's like, put on your own oxygen mask first, right? Same thing is true in our businesses. And I find that mom entrepreneurs really need help staying focused on that and getting those wins early on so they can build on a strong foundation and actually reach their goals.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because sales has always been one of my strengths, but I also have felt as if I needed to be down in the weeds. And it wasn't until I had had my own business for maybe as long as 10 years that I realized that, sales was sort of my superpower, and other people could handle the more day-to-day kind of tasks. So I think that owning what you do the best and what you bring to the table, and letting other people do things that perhaps aren't your strong suit is really important. I know I felt really guilty if I was delegating things that I perceived as less desirable tasks. But I have found, after having my business nearly 30 years now, that there are certain people that enjoy doing the things that I don't enjoy doing.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. And I think There's something to that. I think and I think all people feel this way, but I think women in particular, we feel guilty. But so I recently moved to Iowa from Colorado, and I grew up in the construction industry. So I kind of grew up in a very blue collar, hardworking. I mean, I worked with the crew growing up and doing sales. I did both, and it was, it was a lot of work, but it was great. But something that I think is really, really important to identify is you should, first off, I talk to my mompreneurs about build a business based on your strengths. I've heard it called your genius zone. You can call it whatever you want, but understand your strengths and play to those, because you do not need to create any more friction or challenges to your success. So be very, very cognizant of that and really try to build your business and your offerings, of course, based on the problems that your ideal customer needs solved, but also being just as clear as to what your strengths are. And then what I was going to say about moving to Iowa, somebody introduced me to this concept called Iowa Nice. And as they were explaining this to me, is what it was is people are so nice and so kind here that sometimes it's detrimental. Like, you don't say the things that you should be saying, and you actually end up hurting somebody. So I think about maybe letting somebody go in your business. You keep them on because you just don't want to hurt them, or you like them as a person and you don't want to do that to them, or you don't want to change their role. Well, are you really doing them a favor, or are you actually hurting them? You think you're being nice and you're being kind. And I think the same thing is true in delegation. Let somebody else play to their strengths and you play to yours. So I think it's really, really important that we build our businesses. And when we get to those points of hiring, that we're very, very cognizant of our strengths and our weaknesses and what we need to fill. And we're not necessarily giving somebody tasks that they don't want. Maybe they're ones we don't want, but maybe it actually plays to their strength and it makes them happier. And those are the people we need to surround ourselves. And then, we need to give them that stuff so we can all play to our strengths and all be elevated by that conscious effort to play in our strong zones.
I think there's so much wisdom in that. And I believe that if a person is doing something that they love, they're going to do a much better job, obviously, than if they're doing something that they don't love. So, Camilla-Jean, you use email marketing to promote your business. And actually, I have been on your list for some time now, so I've seen how you do that. And has your process evolved, and is it measurable?
Yeah, of course. There's so many things when it comes to email marketing that are measurable, right? You can look at your click-through rates. You can track that all the way through. And you can test. You can test your copy. You can test offerings. So there's so many things that are measurable. And you and I have talked about being a digital native or not being a digital native. And you and I both are of that generation where it wasn't necessarily native for us, but very critical that we learned. We were on that cusp of a lot of things. So email marketing is critical, and it's been really a lot of work. I grew up doing face-to-face, deep relationship sales. Like, I spent time on the road. I knew these people's families. I knew all of their problems intimately. I knew their businesses, or if they were agency employees, I knew the agency, or, so I grew up in road and street construction maintenance. And I knew all of their roads, and I knew their climates and the challenges that bothered them, but I knew their personal challenges too. So it's really kind of the same thing. You need to try to understand those things as intimately as possible, but it's a bigger challenge when you're doing it digitally, because you're several steps removed from that actual person. So you need to be very, very intentional about it. But the cool thing about digital is because you can really start measuring stuff. You can see how people are interacting. You can track so many elements of your marketing funnel and really see where you're hitting home, where you're not hitting home. But it's still important to try to connect, and we can do that digitally through social media, through our emails, and through picking up the phone. So I'm a huge proponent of combining old-fashioned traditional sales strategy, having relationships, and then also using all the digital cool new strategies that are out there as well. And I had to go out and be very, very intentional when I I knew that having a family in particular, it was important for me to have relationships with my clients, but I couldn't do it the way I used to do it. So I needed to adopt some of these new things. I actually studied with Donald Miller, J.J. Peterson, so I'm a StoryBrand Certified guide. And I was intentional about seeking them out. I loved what they were doing. I believed in their business, and I went and studied with them to really master a digital funnel and what that could look like in a business and how that could be part of a business. One mistake I do see a lot of, especially really busy and kind of overwhelmed mompreneurs making with their business, is they rely solely on those digital strategies because it can be hard. Nobody naturally defaults to personally prospecting and reaching out and making cold calls, if you want to call them that, or just prospecting and targeting your ideal customer actively with that intention of making a personal connection. Nobody, even the best salespeople in the world, do not default to that. They have to be intentional. So I really encourage women to look at their business in terms of opportunities to be both and to do both. You should have a digital funnel that you put the work in up front, and then it does a lot of the heavy lifting and you can measure and track through, but you cannot lose those personal opportunities to build a relationship and understand your customer, because those relationships you get to amplify in your digital strategy because you know how to talk to them better.
Well, that goes to really understanding your targeted audience and your avatars really well. And I think, again, those of us who came up through the business with the old-fashioned sales techniques and relationship building, really got to know, as you said, we got to know our customers and clients personally. I know when I was growing up, my father was in sales for Westinghouse Electric Corporation, and he did the old-fashioned kind where he drove around in his car and met with his customers all over New England. And so I kind of watched how he did the relationship building, and I learned a lot. So I'm glad you said that, we need to combine those old-fashioned techniques with all the new technology available today. And we're going to take a short break now, Camilla-Jean, and we'll be right back. But first, I want to tell my audience about my new book, which is Grow Your Audience, Grow Your Brand. And we just launched a new website, actually, at growyouraudiencegrowyourbrand.com, where you can order the paperback or Kindle edition, and soon we'll have an Audible version of my book. And that website also has a lot of content that helps explain how you can grow your own brand by growing your audience and your network, which is kind of what we're talking about today. So we'll be back in just a moment with more from Camilla-Jean Ringcob, founder of Camilla-Jean, and I'll dive right back in with more questions.
Do you want to grow your client or customer base? Perhaps increase brand awareness? Maybe tell your unique story more effectively? Of course you do. But you may be worried that you don't have enough expertise to make that happen. Well, no worries, PR Maven Nation. Let the PR Maven herself, Nancy Marshall, show you how easy it is to get your message across effectively using a powerful yet simple tool, a message map. Nancy's training is often called informative and constructive, well-designed and impactful, with a perfect blend of theory and real-life experience. You will leverage Nancy's expertise to create your own message map when you register for this comprehensive online video training course, which is broken down into 4 easy-to-understand modules. Normally, this course is priced at $147, but for listeners of the PR Maven podcast, that's you, PR Maven Nation, it's only $29 when you enter the code word podcast during enrollment. It even includes a workbook and bonus content to guide you through the process. So go to prmaven.com and click on the Message Map Mastery course to enroll today. Remember, enter the word podcast during enrollment for a special discounted price of $29.
Welcome back. And today we're talking with Camilla-Jean Ringcob, founder of Camilla-Jean. And I'm going to dive right back in with some more questions about the nuts and bolts of the kinds of marketing that she does for her business, Camilla-Jean. So, what is a landing page exactly, and why would you want one, and how do you build one?
So, a landing page is where you are sending somebody to try to connect with them and get them to take a very specific action. So, we can have landing pages that we are sending people to just connect them with a lead generator, or it can be where we're actually presenting our offer to them and you are actually hoping for them to convert and become a paying customer. So those are the types of things. You also have your main landing page on your website, which is a little bit more of a quick introduction. So let's talk firstly about that because that's really, really critical. When somebody is curious, like we want to create curiosity, and that is what we do with our marketing when we're reaching out, when we're showing up places. But you're continuing to do that when they click on your home landing page, your main landing page of your website. But the goal is you are really wanting to take them from curiosity to wanting to be enlightened about the problem that you solve for them. So it's really, really critical because you have less than 10 seconds on, really over and over again, each time somebody's making a decision, am I going to stay and continue to be enlightened? And what is keeping them there is they are looking for a solution to a problem. They're wanting to win their own day, and they're looking for that. You have to very, very quickly hook them with the fact that you understand the problem they have. So in StoryBrand, we like to talk about the grunt test. So when they're on your landing page in less than 10 seconds, they need to very clearly understand what problem do you solve? What is the solution you use to solve that problem? And how do I get it? So they may not be past that enlightenment stage where they're ready to actually connect with you and start converting, but you have to take them through a very specific customer journey, and your landing page is part of that. So I know one of the things I do for a lot of people is we do website audits, and we look at their website and we really break down where are you making mistakes on this landing page specifically. So, and a lot of it stems from it's confusing. It's not clear. People are burning calories on our landing pages. And in the world we live in, and if you think about our very primal nature, is that we need to not burn calories so that we can survive. So we need to make it very, very clear and very simple for people to understand the problem that we solve, the solution we use to do it, and how they get it. Now, that's a really simplification, but that can be applied to your sales landing page, your lead generator landing page, and your home landing page. If you can really focus on that thing right there, just those 3 simple questions, you're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of people. So many websites are beautiful and very high tech and have all kinds of bells and whistles, but they confuse people, and people are just not going to engage because they don't know if you're going to help them survive or thrive. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that answer to, does this person solve the problem that I have?
I totally know what you're talking about because sometimes I'll go to a page on a website and say, oh my God, this page was created just for me. Like when you really target that persona or that avatar, so well, and they go to a page that it's like, oh, this is going to solve my biggest problem. So we used to call that the hero strategy. Like if as a marketer, if you can be the hero of your customer and solve their greatest problem, then they're going to want to do business with you, and they're going to trust you, and want to have a relationship with you, basically.
Yeah. And another way to maybe look at that is help them be the hero. Everybody's looking to be the hero of their own story. That's why they want to solve a problem. So I think that's one test, kind of litmus test, that I ask people when we're talking about their landing pages and we're looking at what it is that primary call to action is that you want them to execute on. Like, are you helping them win their own day?
I like that. What is the primary call to action?
So important. You got to be clear on it.
Now, what exactly is a lead generator?
So a lead generator are they are something that we put out there that offers value to our ideal customer avatar in order to get them on our email list. So that is the real basic way of looking at it, is you're really trying to offer them something that is a high enough perceived value that they're willing to exchange their email address. Because we all know our inboxes are something that we kind of have to protect these days, right? Everybody wants to get in our inbox. So you have to actually give them something of value. And we say roughly, I think they say right now that people value their email address between $10 and $20. So you have to create something that to the right customer, that is a good value to them. So that's why you see ebooks. I've seen really effective audio recordings, video recordings, checklists, free sessions can be that. So there's so many case studies, white papers, so many great things that you can do. And it's a really fun area to get creative. But the critical thing about a lead generator is it needs to be tied into your whole funnel strategy, starting with where are you trying to take them at the end? What is the offer and that end solution that you want to put in front of them to try to help them make a transformation? And it's really critical. And one of the mistakes I see people make a lot with their lead generator is it doesn't align. So they end up filling their email list or their CRM with so many people that are never going to make that conversion at the backside because they were attracting the wrong person. So it's really important when you're designing and you're first laying out your digital funnel that you make sure that this is that small transformation that you can give somebody, but it directly aligns with what it is you want to be able to sell and offer them later that's going to help them make a bigger transformation and make a bigger win. That's the critical mistake I see people make.
Well, of course, all of this is going to work better if you have more emails on your list. And some people say that actually having a really good email list is perhaps the biggest asset of any business because those are all of your customers and potential customers. So how do you gather emails for your email campaign?
So I know one philosophy I have is it's more important. If you can have a big list, that's great. But I would always rather my audience or my clients have a small but good loyal list that is qualified. And part of what we talked about with the lead generator is you're qualifying them. Are they a good fit for what I can offer and what I can do for them down the road? So that's the first and the most important thing. That's why a lead generator is so important. But getting those emails it's a little bit different for everybody because it's based on your avatar, but it's about being out there, being really confident about what you do, selecting the right social media avenues, the right maybe speaking opportunities, guesting on a podcast. That is a great opportunity. But it all needs to start with who is the ideal customer. Where are the people that you can serve, that you can help make a transformation with your product or your service? Where are they living? Where are they spending their time? And that's where you need to go and engage with them and make sure that you're coming across their radar. And always, no matter how you do it, whatever social media platform you choose, wherever you're speaking, wherever you're getting interviewed, if you're hosting your own podcast, make sure that you're always very, very clear about the problem that you solve. That's what helps people go from curious to wanting to be enlightened. And that's when you see people take that step and actually get on your email list. They participate in your lead generator. Or if you have multiple lead generators, that's when they take action, is when they are going from, I'm kind of curious, but now I want to learn more. I want to be enlightened, and I want to maybe sample what a small piece of working with this person or using this company's products can look like for me.
Well, this is all so interesting. And of course, I know that you are a StoryBrand Certified guide. And I know that there is a book called StoryBrand. Is that something you recommend?
Absolutely. So, I think also they just came out with Marketing Made Simple. So if you know that a funnel is something you need in your business, I would actually really start there because it's a simple, straightforward read, and it introduces you to the whole digital funnel framework that they use to build that based on, that StoryBrand framework of solving the problem, understanding, creating empathy and authority. And there's some deeper levels to that problem that they get into in that as well.
Well, that sounds like a great recommendation. And I'm definitely going to go out and get that book, Marketing Made Simple. So Camilla-Jean, how can people get in touch with you if they want to stay in touch and learn more from you?
So I have a really great marketing checklist on my website. So something to really help you get a lot of clarity, kind of eliminate all the shiny object syndromes that we can get around marketing, especially when we're starting our business or really trying to level up our game. It's so easy to get distracted about all the things maybe you should be doing. So I have a really simple, easy to use marketing checklist on my website, and you can snag that at camilla-jean.com/checklist. And that is, there's a hyphen in there. So it's camilla-jean.com/checklist. So you can snag that right there. That is a great way. And then also I primarily spend my time on Facebook and LinkedIn. So you can find me on, those are my platforms. That's where I like to talk to people. And like I said earlier, it's important to figure out where your customer is and marry that with where you're comfortable and try to spend your time there.
Those are two of the platforms I enjoy the most also. So I'll definitely connect with you there. So Camilla-Jean, this has been so fascinating. I want to thank you for your time and thank you for teaching us so much today about digital marketing. And I'm really glad that you and I both share the fact that we weren't necessarily digital natives, but I think both of us kind of grasped the fact early on that we had to, embrace this digital world in order to stay competitive and be successful as a mompreneur. So thank you. And I hope everyone has a great day in PR Maven Nation. That's it for this week's episode. I'd like to thank you for listening, and if you feel that you've gotten value out of today's conversation, consider leaving a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever app you're using to tune in. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should do so. I release a new episode each week, and subscribing will make sure you get an alert when there's a new episode. You can also join the PR Maven Nation by going to prmaven.com/nation and clicking join. It's free, and it's a great community of like-minded individuals who are all looking to learn and grow from one another. If you have an Alexa-enabled device, be sure to add the PR Maven Marketing Minute to your daily flash briefing menu. Thanks again for listening, and have a great rest of your week, PR Maven Nation.